1, 2. Is this on?
Sometimes the finish to a wrestling match goes wrong.
Not the legal man, and Orton's hooked the leg.
Is the shoulder up? Did he get the win or what? What happened?
I don't have a damn clue what that call was.
This can be for a multitude of reasons, such as moves going wrong, timing being off, referees messing up, and equipment malfunctioning.
Shawn grabs the belt. Boing! Oh, I remember he's not afraid to lose. He's cool at that point in his life.
For this video, we'll be going back through the years to showcase times where the ending to a match got completely screwed up.
If you don't kick out at 3, the referee's gonna get fined. If he did not want that, don't hold your hand. You better slap that motherfucker.
Fortunately, somebody didn't get their shoulder up, and Vince congratulated me when I came to the back.
Where is that referee? He was trying to fuck on me!
Everyone loves seeing Randy Orton's RKO. It's such a brilliant move that whenever the execution goes wrong, it's extremely noticeable. The move's timing was completely off during the conclusion to Orton's match with Big Show on the February 13, 2012 Raw.
Doesn't know what awaits him here. RKO from Orton.
The two men had to redo the spot, so now if you watch this match on streaming, all signs of the screw-up have been erased.
Now look at this.
There was no redoing this next one, as Kurt Angle struggled to roll up KANE at WrestleMania 18. Kurt was meant to steal the victory by countering and then putting his feet on the ropes, but he couldn't get into position quick enough. This took the sting off him cheating to win, since KANE should have been able to avoid getting pinned, given how long it took Angle to get the cover. The Big Red Machine instead resembled a helpless turtle flipped onto his back.
He's got him rolled up here.
Another famous cock-up on the grandest stage was when Jack Swagger couldn't unhook the briefcase in the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 26. Swagger spent 20 seconds trying to unlock the case as it hung down.
He can't unhook it! He's having trouble! Cannot do it!
It was comical to watch him struggle for what must have felt like an eternity up there.
Here we go! Here we go!
Can he seize the opportunity?
On the October 1st, 2012 edition of Raw, RYBACK was in the midst of a winning streak, but TENSAI proved to be his toughest test yet. Not because he was a formidable opponent, but rather due to the fact RYBACK couldn't lift him for his finisher, the Shell Shock.
RYBACK the power, trying to get TENSAI up. Well, he should have it scouted because he RYBACK.
The big guy failed to hoist TENSAI up after 2 attempts. This led to RYBACK winning with the meat hook clothesline instead.
That's a 360-pound man. TENSAI tried to block it, but look what he ran into.
RYBACK has denied that TENSAI tried to sandbag him.
I did not hook him where I needed to hook him, and there were reasons why on this. Typically, I needed to get myself a little more centered on his body. And for whatever reason, and there's different body types in professional wrestling, he was not as easy for me, and not from a weight standpoint, but from a weight distribution standpoint of getting my shoulder and my body crouched down to where it needed to get. Usually I wanted to get square center with a guy's body.
It certainly looked like Jim the Anvil Neidhart sandbagged Chris Jericho on WCW Monday Nitro in September 1998. Prior to the bout, Jericho mentioned that Neidhart was apprehensive about losing to him due to Chris being a cruiserweight. Jericho was set to win with the Lion Tamer. However, he had a torrid time getting Neidhart in the move. Jim couldn't roll over to properly get in position for the maneuver. The mishap made for an awkward and sloppy ending.
That way you won't be able to turn him.
Look at the wide base by Jericho here.
The referee even signals for the bell at one point, despite the submission not being locked in. Never mind the fact Neidhart hadn't even submitted.
He powered his way out of that. It's what he did.
After a bit more struggling, the ref called a bell for a second time.
And Billy Silverman saying ring the bell.
It never rang, but Jericho was still declared the winner, despite the Anvil having never given up.
Even though we've not heard the bell, it is over.
It all made for a very bizarre finish. The powerbomb can be a difficult move to execute since it requires a lot of effort from both competitors. If the receiver doesn't get high enough, it can spell danger. King Booker and Batista nearly learned this the hard way during their match at SummerSlam 2006. Fans speculated if there was a legit tension between both wrestlers going into the bout, and that's because the two men got into a physical confrontation a few months prior when filming a commercial for the SummerSlam pay-per-view. This was due to Batista disrespecting Booker and others during the shoot by not speaking to anyone.
Batista said, "Hey, when are you coming over to SmackDown? Because I have nobody to work with." Booker took that as, wait a minute, I'm on SmackDown, and there's a lot of people to work with.
Disrespect does not go very far in this business. If I would have got fired, it would have been worth it.
The two also had heat stemming from Batista's affair with Melina, which Melina was placed in wrestle court for, during which Book was one of the prosecutors. By the time they worked together at SummerSlam, the two had patched things up and the match went off without issue up until the finish. Booker had trouble getting up for the Batista bomb.
Batista's irate. King Booker.
The Animal was eventually able to hoist Book up, while the crowd booed the blunder. Sticking with the powerbomb, as Shawn Michaels had trouble taking Diesel's jackknife powerbomb at WrestleMania 11, Shawn landed on his butt instead of his back. Nash believes Michaels bumped awkwardly on purpose because Shawn was unhappy about losing, hence why Michaels also went into the match with the goal of getting Kevin tired straight away.
The worst power bomb in the history of fucking pro wrestling for the finish. Shawn could fucking stand and take a power bomb without anybody giving it to him better than he took the one in that match.
The ending to the Royal Rumble match in 2000 was interesting, in that no one watching at home would have known the finish went wrong. None of the camera angles featured on the pay-per-view showed that The Rock's feet hit the ground first.
I thought The Rock was history, but somehow he grabbed that top rope.
Once the backstage personnel figured out The Rock's feet actually did hit the floor, it was put into a storyline.
As you can see, Rocky's feet touched the mat.
Big Show complained for weeks that the Great One's feet touched the ground before his. No one believed Show until he finally gathered video proof.
There I go. There's his feet on the floor. Whoa!
The botch ended up benefiting the story greatly, even though it could have easily been ignored, since fans wouldn't have known the botch had ever occurred.
But Rocky's feet hit the ground first. I've got pictures of all that.
5 years later, the conclusion to the Rumble match went haywire once again, but just like in 2000, the botched ending worked out for the better. When Batista and John Cena appeared to hit the ground both at the same time, it led to some fine improvisation from both the wrestlers and the referees. Then once Vince McMahon came down to the ring, things got even crazier. The chairman ultimately restarted the match, allowing Batista to throw Cena out as originally planned. The Raw after WrestleMania 32 saw the Dudley Boys wrestle the Usos in a tables match. The finish came when the Usos each missed their signature splash, sending them both through the tables below. However, the timekeeper rang the bell too early, leading people to believe the match was over. But a tables match can only end when someone has put their opponent through a table with an offensive maneuver. This is exactly what Devon did to Jimmy Uso to officially win the match. Bubba Ray saw the botch as the perfect opportunity to heal it up, as he hilariously berated the timekeeper for ringing the bell too early.
Now you ring the bell! Now we won! What's wrong with you?
Speaking of time, Mickie James and Gail Kim had their time cut before going on to wrestle on the August 15, 2009 Raw. The girls had to quickly rush through all their spots, which caused Gail to become fatigued. This led to Mickie's finisher being botched, because she was too tired to lift her up for the implant DDT.
So by the time we were supposed to go out there, they cut it to like 3 minutes. And so right at the very end, I just said, I can't. Like, I couldn't, I was blown up. We were both blown up at that point, that I couldn't lift her.
Mickie measuring Gail Kim, going for the win. Oh, Gail Kim blocked that.
James then went to hit the mid kick but failed to make contact, instead opting to throw a forearm. A visibly upset Mickie waited for a bit before going for the cover, which made for an awkward final few moments.
That was Mickie. She thought she had Gail Kim finished off there. Gail.
After winning the match, Mickie barely celebrated the victory. Her face said it all. There was no hiding her frustration over the lousy ending. James was reportedly chewed out backstage following the match. The higher-ups weren't pleased with how she handled the botch. They didn't like the improvised forearm finish or the way Mickie reacted on camera. Mickie's match with Trish Stratus at WrestleMania 22 was an excellent contest despite the ending. And we're not talking about Mickie's infamous gesture. James attempted to hit the Stratusfaction, but the women struggled to get up for the move, blowing the spot in the process. JR covered for the botch well by saying that Trish's injured left knee buckled under the pressure.
And Mickie James, Trish trying to block it, her left knee buckle.
James then used the mid kick to score the win. The match was noticeably edited once it aired on DVD.
Took me mentally right out of my game. And Mickie James now taking down Trish Stratus. Will it be enough?
Timing was everything in the WWE Championship Scramble match at Unforgiven 2008. Given that there was a time limit, the finish featured a double pin, where Jeff Hardy would be a second off getting the win, since Triple H had beaten him to the cover on MVP, while Hardy tried to pin Shelton Benjamin.
He's a maniac! Bam! Look at this!
However, the double pin made no sense, since the stipulation stated whoever got the final cover was the champion. Hardy had got the most recent pinfall, so therefore it would have made more sense for Jeff to break up the game's pin, rather than go for one of his own. It's possible Hardy didn't sell for long enough, so since Jeff was already back to his feet by the time Hunter went for the pin, Hardy appeared to just say screw it and went to cover Shelton. Meanwhile, Triple H's cover was successful, meaning he was still the WWE champion. Like the Scramble, the Beat the Clock challenge requires both wrestlers and the referee to be in sync with a moving timer that all the fans can also see. This increases the room for error, and over the years we've seen botches that have occurred as a result of the timer running out before the wrestlers were ready to end the match. This happened when Big Show fought Chris Jericho in a Beat the Clock match on Raw in April 2012. With the clock racing down to 0, the two wrestlers battled on the outside. The referee would begin his 10 count, but did so at a snail's pace. The ref ended up taking so long that the 10 count to finish the match actually occurred after the buzzer went off at 0. Therefore, the match should have ended as a draw since the time ran out.
I don't think either one of them made it here.
But the ref instead awarded the count-out victory to Jericho.
Jericho, according to a referee, beat the 10 count back into the ring.
As everyone looked on in confusion, order was eventually restored after the commercial break. The announcers told us that Jericho had in fact not beaten the time, since the buzzer went off before the ref finished his 10 count, and thus the official decision went down as a draw.
Chris Jericho and Big Show, well, they could not beat the clock. Miz still hasn't established the time to beat here tonight.
The referee needed to wait an extra second to finish his count, but the wrestler staying outside for so long didn't help him. It was simply a case of bad timing. All in all, it took the ref 29 seconds to count to 10, given the circumstances. The 6-man tag match featuring Cody Rhodes and Daniel Bryan from the June 17, 2011 SmackDown is infamous. Not necessarily because of the botched finish, but rather the aftermath, which has become a legendary wrestling meme story. Sin Cara had messed up a few spots before the bout ended early, because of a screw-up between the referee and Ted DiBiase Jr.
And we're like 4 minutes into this match. It's a 2-segment match.
DiBiase down, maybe out right now. There you go. That was 3.
Ted kicked out, but the ref looked like he was going to count 3 no matter what.
In fairness, he did kick out, but because your referees can't block the hard can, he wasn't in position, so they were both kind of right in this situation. Yes. What a nightmare. Yeah.
Cody considers it the worst match he's ever had, but what happened in Guerrilla afterward was absolutely hilarious.
So I roll out and I'm thinking, hey, I'm talking to Stu who's right here, and I said, why don't we go get some heat on him? Let's salvage this. Sure, let's go get. But by the time I get done saying, hey, why don't we go? He's already stormed to the back. He's literally not there.
We come into the grill area and there is Vince standing up, headset off, and right before he can say anything to me, Ted Jr. blows by me, looks at Vince, and says, "Where is that referee? He was trying to fuck on me." Vince just real slowly put his headset back on, sat down, and we never talked about the worst match that happened ever again.
A shoot DQ is rare in wrestling, but sometimes talent give the referee no choice but to call the match, even though they weren't supposed to. Case in point during the penultimate match of Chris Benoit's career, where he teamed with CM Punk to take on Elijah Burke and Marcus Corvon on the June 12, 2007 edition of ECW. Despite tagging out, Corvon stayed in the ring past the ref's 5 count. This led to the official Scott Armstrong calling for the bell.
I don't quite know what happened here, but
Benoit even submitted Burke with the sharpshooter, which was presumably the planned finish.
Burke's tapping out. Matchup is already officially over.
Another time we saw a shoot disqualification was on Main Event in August 2013, when Fandango wrestled Kofi Kingston. The two were in the midst of a 2-segment match when Kofi geared up for his finishing move, the Trouble in Paradise. Fandango's valet, Summer Rae, was to pull out Kingston's foot to cause the distraction and give Fandango the advantage. However, Summer grabbed Kofi's foot in view of the referee, who then promptly called for the disqualification, thus declaring Kingston the winner.
Whoa, look at this! Summer Rae! The attention of Kofi Kingston!
Fandango had originally been booked to win, presumably as a result of Summer's distraction, but because the ref saw her getting involved, he decided to end the match there and then.
This match as a result of a disqualification, Kofi Kingston!
To brush at his leg or something, and I went to brush and he was a little close to me. I'm not take full credit for it, and I grabbed, and the ref saw, rang the bell, and disqualified him.
What?
And I was and I look at Fandango, and I think at this point he hadn't won a lot in a while, and they was finally going over, and it was this match, and they had just busted their butt for like 9 minutes, and my heart stopped.
Next we have a finish the ref screwed up, where a title was on the line. This happened when Shinsuke Nakamura defended the United States Championship against R-Truth on the January 29, 2019 SmackDown. Truth was booked to win regardless, but the match ended prematurely with a roll-up. Nakamura was able to kick out at the last second, but that didn't stop referee Mike Chioda counting to 3 anyway.
Oh, I think he was going for landslide, and it's Truth. Truth with the cover.
What? Well, wait, what?
And it was Nakamura. 1, 2. Whoa.
The wrestlers continued the action as if it had been a near fall until Chioda made it clear the match was over and R-Truth was the new champ. It turns out there was supposed to be another roll-up later in the match that was going to be the finish. This hadn't been communicated to the ref, hence the awkward ending.
He did something else and schoolboyed him like 3 times. And the schoolboy was the finish, and I'm thinking, why did we do that schoolboy finish? Why did you? He goes, oh, my bad, dog. I forgot to tell you he was going to schoolboy me twice, and then the third one's going to be the finish.
If you don't kick out at 3, referee's gonna get fined if you don't. If he did not want that, don't hold your hand. You better slap that motherfucker. Excuse me. Sorry.
A further example of a kickout not stopping the 3 count came during a match between Tamina and Nikki ASH on September 13, 2021. Following a tornado DDT, Nikki went for the cover and surprisingly got the win out of nowhere, although Tamina had got the shoulder up just before the ref hit the mat for 3. Similar to what happened with Truth and Nakamura, Tamina's kickout was perhaps too late for the ref, who was already prepared to count 3.
Rhea Ripley. Oh, tornado DDT, shoulders down. Is that enough? Oh, yes!
Bizarrely though, despite the loss, Tamina's music began to play and she was announced as the winner. This suggests she may have been slated to win the match beforehand, which if true, makes the botch finish even more of a botch.
That was 3, it's over! Here is your winner, Tamina!
So far we've seen referees count the fall despite the wrestler kicking out before 3. But what about when the wrestler kicks out after 3 instead of at 2? Well, that's what happened when the Rhodes brothers finally squared off in a one-on-one match that took place at Fastlane 2015. The match itself was uneventful until the flat finish, which saw Goldust counter a crossroads attempt into a crucifix pin. The referee then made the count but would hesitate before counting 3, as he was likely waiting for a kick out that didn't come until after the 3 count was already made.
Did he get him? Wow, that was so He got him! He got him!
The awkward finish left the fans and the wrestlers themselves confused. Our next finish is a botch, but it came across like a well-executed close call for the losing team. At Judgment Day 2000, where the team of Kurt Angle, Edge and Christian battled Too Cool and Rikishi in a 6-man tag, the match lived up to the high standards being set in the ring by the Attitude Era stars of the time. Much to the delight of the crowd, the final blow would come after Grandmaster Sexay hit the hip-hop leg drop on Edge. Rikishi would then reach for the pin as Kurt Angle rushed to try and break up the cover in time. Despite how quickly Angle moved, he couldn't stop the count in time as Too Cool and Rikishi were able to grab the win. Even though the finish still turned out good, Kurt was actually meant to break things up. This would have then allowed the planned finish to occur. On the October 17, 2016 Raw, Bayley was easily beaten by Dana Brooke in anticlimactic fashion due to the botched ending. To end the match, Brooke shoved Bayley into the post and then dragged her back into the ring to make the cover. Brooke was supposed to get her feet on the ropes and cheat to win, but by the time she hooked Bayley's leg for the pin, Dana was too far away from the ropes.
Go!
This made for a weak finish, since throwing someone into the post rarely ever earns a victory, hence why it was so important for Brooke to get her feet on the ropes. Money in the Bank ladder matches can be chaotic at times. Everywhere you look, there's any wrestler and ladder coming out of nowhere. This can make things a bit difficult, and Alberto Del Rio found this out the hard way back in 2011. In an attempt to secure the win, Del Rio would remove the mask of Rey Mysterio. Del Rio was then meant to grab the briefcase to secure the victory, but as he was set to do this, Mysterio initially placed both hands over his own face to stop people from seeing him while he was unmasked. This meant he couldn't balance properly on the ladder. Del Rio then readjusted the ladder and won the match. Mysterio and a ladder is involved again here, as we go back to SummerSlam 2005, where Rey battled Eddie Guerrero for the custody of Dominic. The match was very chaotic, with numerous spots going awry, but this only added to the carnage. The ending is infamous, as Eddie's wife Vicky was due to interrupt and push Latino Heat off the ladder just as he was about to win. The problem was Vicky was told to wait by those at the gorilla position. That's because Mysterio was in too dangerous of a position for her to go through with the spot. Eddie didn't know this and was fuming his wife was nowhere to be seen.
Mysterio out of desperation, and look at Eddie, the
frustrated. Frustrated.
The wrestlers did a few more spots until Vicky finally appeared. From there, she stopped Eddie from climbing the ladder, allowing Ray to claim custody of his son Dom. The danger of the ladder match are shown once again here, as Jeff Hardy challenged Mr. Anderson for the TNA Championship at Against All Odds 2011. With both men perched on a ladder, Jeff was to hang on to the belt, then unstrap it and bring it down to the mat with him. However, Hardy lost his grip and endured a nasty landing, falling against both ladders.
Yeah, but neither can he now. Oh my God!
Jeff then drop-kicked Anderson and climbed back up the ladder to claim the belt.
Slides back in. Anderson, he's got it. Tried to do it, but Hardy pulls down the title.
We've got one more ladder match here, this time from SummerSlam 1995, when Razor Ramon battled Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship. In a rematch from WrestleMania 10, Michaels would be all set to win, throwing Razor out of the ring. In a similar situation to Hardy previously, HBK attempted to grab hold of the title and unhook it mid-air. The belt didn't budge though, and Shawn fell to the mat empty-handed.
Shawn grabs the belt. Boing! Oh, I remember he's going, he's not afraid to lose it cool at that point in his life.
Can you do it? Yes! No! He can't do it!
A furious Michaels then repositioned the ladder so that this time he could successfully capture the title. Kurt Angle's 2005 feud with Booker T is remembered more for the storyline than the wrestling. Kurt has spoken at length about how much he hated stalking Book's wife Charmel, but at least when it came down to the in-ring portion, Angle and Booker could tear it up. This was supposed to happen during their sole pay-per-view match at Judgment Day 05. The two men were on their way to a great contest. However, just as things began to kick into high gear, the bout ended prematurely following a cradle.
Booker T! Yes! Look at this small package! Put the leg! Oh, did he get it? Did he get it? I don't know. He got it! He got it!
Kurt wasn't happy with the early ending since they had much more planned. Angle revealed this in an interview with Title Match Wrestling.
And Booker and I were upset because that match would have been one of the greatest matches of all time. It was a 5-star match, and we probably had 12 minutes left in that match, and it got cut short. But it was a tough pill to swallow because Booker and I knew how good that match could have been. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do it again because the program ended. Booker beat me twice, 2 in a row. There wasn't a third match. So unfortunately, Booker and I never got to have the third match. And unfortunately, Booker and I didn't have that 5-star match we wanted because it ended short.
On the Kurt Angle show, Booker voiced his displeasure with how things went, since he and Kurt never got to have that knockdown, drag-out pay-per-view match they wanted.
I just wish we could have finished our story, you know.
Oh, God,
Kurt and I, we was on the verge of having a classic match, and you know, Charles Robinson, the referee, screwed it up by counting the 3 count. The one thing I remember in that match was when he counted 3, the way you looked at him and the way I looked at him.
We were both shocked, like, holy shit, you know, they called the wrong finish, and you were celebrating. And I was like, this guy improvises, man.
I had to go into it. I'm like, I'm happy, but I was so mad. Still to this day, every time I see Charles Robinson, I remind him of that. I swear to God, still to this day. This many years later, every time I see him.
Fortunately, somebody didn't get their shoulder up, and Vince congratulated me when I came to the back, but I told him, I said, you know, I messed up because I thought that was the finish. If I would have known 2 or 3 moves prior to that, I wouldn't have made that mistake.
In the year 2000, WCW threw a lot of things at the wall, and very few of them stuck. One such example that could have been a great wrestling match ended up being another one of the company's blunders. Dean Malenko faced Billy Kidman at Sold Out 2000 in a catch-as-catch-can match. The idea was that this match would favor an in-ring technician like Malenko, and the rules of the bout was that neither wrestler could leave the ring, as this was supposed to be a match fought exclusively inside the squared circle. However, just 2 minutes into the match, Malenko would roll out of the ring to take a breather, completely forgetting the main rule of the match. Dean's ring instincts got the better of him, and thus Kidman was awarded the win.
Has more guts than brains. He'll fight anybody anytime.
The match is over, isn't it?
That's it. Referee Charles Robinson is called for the bell.
It was a comical botch.
The winner is Kidman.
Sticking with WCW in 2000, for a match on Nitro pitting Booker T against Jeff Jarrett, it was a San Francisco 49ers match, where the stipulation was to find the WCW title belt inside a box. After Beetlejuice took care of Jeff Jarrett, Booker T was set to retrieve the title from the final available box. The belt hilariously fell to the floor before Booker could take it out, thus ruining the finish. Ring announcer David Pencer then handed Booker the belt. This was the type of match where you just feel bad for all the wrestlers involved.
They chant Beetlejuice. Booker T's got the belt fell out, but now the only thing he's got to do is grab the man as he wins the new World Heavyweight Champion.
The steel cage match is designed to keep wrestlers out, but that still doesn't stop people trying to get in. The key word being try, as we'll soon find out, as during a cage match between Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman on SmackDown from March 6, 2003, Lesnar was set to deliver the F5, but Brock's rival at the time, Kurt Angle, intended to put a stop to this. However, Angle couldn't get the cage door open after 30 seconds of trying. All Lesnar could do was walk around the ring with Heyman on his shoulders.
Kurt can't get it open though. Paul Heyman seems like an eternity on the shoulders of Brock Lesnar.
Eventually, Kurt opted to climb up and over the cage to get at Brock. All future versions of this match would completely edit out Angle trying to open the cage door, instead immediately cutting to him climbing over into the ring.
Angle's climbing into the cage. F5 is coming. But Kurt's in the cage. Look out!
But Kurt would not be alone, as 3 years later, Mark Henry's battle with the cage door was infamous. The world's strongest man was about to interfere in the tag team steel cage match, involving M vs Batista and Rey Mysterio. Henry was supposed to enter the cage by ripping the door from its hinges, but the door was not gimmicked ahead of time, like was meant to be the case. As a result, Henry spent nearly 1.5 minutes on television trying to crack the door open, eventually managing to break the chain off.
Bolted shut with that chain, link. Shut. Oh, what the hell? Holy. You can't do that. Oh my!
Despite how long this took on the original SmackDown broadcast, it actually took far longer live, with Henry spending around 8 minutes trying to pry open the door. Given that SmackDown was taped at the time, the WWE were able to edit things down significantly. On the network version of the show, there is a quick camera cut as Henry breaks the chain almost immediately.
He's trying like hell to get in. Sure is.
Our next entry is perhaps one of the most brutal endings to a matchup, as we go back to ECW in 1997, when Terry Funk defended the ECW title against Sabu in a barbed wire ring rope match. Towards the end, both men became completely entangled in barbed wire, to the point where Terry Funk couldn't get up off the mat. This meant the finish had to be changed on the fly, as Funk was due to retain, but since he couldn't get up, both men called an audible and Sabu would score the 3 count to become the new ECW champion.
We called a pinfall, but nobody's shoulders were really on the mat.
As we saw, barbed wire is dangerous enough, but an exploding barbed wire deathmatch is taking it to another level, and this would be the stipulation when Jon Moxley fought Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship at Revolution 2021. The premise for this match type is that once the timer reaches 0, the entire ring explodes regardless if the match has ended or not, but the conclusion to Omega vs Moxley couldn't have been any more anticlimactic, as 4 sparklers lit up the ring post and we were treated to 4 mini explosions. AEW would end up being refunded the $100,000 it cost to rig the expansions due to the calamity.
Kenny Omega may be a tough son of a bitch, but he can't make an exploding ring worth of shit.
At the 2021 Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns defended the Universal Championship versus Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. Deep into the bout, Reigns got handcuffed to a lighting rig, with his special counsel Paul Heyman attempted to unlock his client using a key, but Heyman would have a hard time getting the cuffs unlocked. Then while he struggled, the referee would begin the 10 count. Eventually the ref would be signaled off camera to stop, as it was clear Reigns was not going to make it back to his feet in time.
A count of 5. A count of... You're Roman Reigns, you're thanking God for Paul Heyman right now.
Once Roman was finally free from the handcuffs, he choked out Owens with a guillotine, leaving KO unable to answer the 10 count, allowing Roman to retain his title.
And Roman Reigns will retain as the last man standing.
Muhammad Hassan's match with Chris Benoit from the February 28, 2005 Monday Night Raw featured a messed up finish that was saved by an audible. Hassan was meant to hit Benoit with the ring bell, as Chris came down with the headbutt. This would have presumably given Hassan, who was undefeated at the time, the victory. The problem was Hassan forgot to turn over in time, meaning the Rabid Wolverine simply hit his opponent with a regular diving headbutt, only for Chris to sell as if he actually got hit with the bell like was planned.
Look out! Oh, Benoit's head! Trevor, did he get him?
Benoit, perhaps realizing how stupid this looked, kicked out of the subsequent cover at 1. He then told Hassan to low blow him, allowing the match to end in a disqualification.
Maybe I was wrong about that Benoit's head hitting that bell, and that was a low blow.
Earl Hebner was WWE's most senior ref, but he still had some screw-ups from time to time, such as during the June 2nd, 2003 main event on Monday Night Raw. Triple H looked to have pedigreed the Hurricane to finish the match, allowing Randy Orton to make the cover. Hebner didn't count the 3, likely forgetting this was the finish.
This is not the legal man, and Orton's hooked the leg. Is the shoulder up? Come on, ref!
Earl tried to make it look like Hurricane got the shoulder up, despite clearly not doing so. Realizing he'd made a mistake, Hebner simply called for the bell as the crowd watched on in confusion, eventually starting a BS chant. Meanwhile, JR and King lambasted Earl's decision on commentary as the show's ending fell flat due to the botch.
Did he get the win or what? What happened? I don't have a damn clue what that call was. Indecisive call. We got to call it like it is.
Hebner effed up even worse 2 years prior during the Rock and Kurt Angle's WWF title match at No Way Out 2001. This time Earl claimed that Angle kicked out of the rock bottom. The television audience didn't have the best view of Kurt's shoulders, but that didn't matter because the fans' reaction told the whole story. Hebner had forgotten the order of rock bottoms, since a previous one had already led to a near fall. So with Earl acting as if Angle had got the shoulder up here, it meant the Great One had to hit a third and final rock bottom to finish the match and win the WWF Championship.
So the finish was supposed to be the second rock bottom, and Earl thought the second one was the first. The Rock was pissed. He picked me up, rock bottomed me, and told Earl, count the motherfucking finish. He's going
for another one.
A referee as tenured as Earl Hebner probably wouldn't lose their job over a forgotten botched spot, but a younger ref might. This was what happened to Wes Adams on the August 12, 2008 edition of ECW, as he refereed only his second match for the company in the tag team main event. The sad part is, it wasn't even Wes that forgot his spot, it was The Miz. The Miz failed to break up the pin as Matt Hardy pinned John Morrison for the count of 3. The young referee simply counted the fall because Morrison never kicked out.
Mark Henry calls for the tag, but instead, he goes for the cover. That's it.
Shortly after this happened, refs were instructed by Vince McMahon to count as if there were a shoot. If the talent didn't kick out, it was on them. But unfortunately for Adams, he was made a scapegoat following the incident, as he was fired a week later.
I'd been trained to make judgment calls in the ring. I made one, and apparently they weren't happy with it. And I got fired.
Smoking Joe Frazier was even more inexperienced as a pro wrestling referee. The boxing legend acted as the special guest ref for Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes' clash at Starrcade 84 for the NWA title and $1 million. The match was meant to be a lengthy bloodbath, where Dusty would lose due to a referee stoppage on account of excess blood loss. The issue was Joe called the bout off too early, with the American Dream still on his feet ready to go.
Frazier steps in between them, and what's happening here?
He has stopped the match.
The anticlimactic finish resulted in a sour end to such a high-stakes match on a huge show.
You were known for having really long matches. This one only goes 12 minutes.
It went because of Joel.
Okay.
He messed it up.
I got you.
Something he wasn't that familiar with, and he just made a mistake. If you look back on it, he called the match too early, way too early. He just panicked, not knowing what he was doing.
One of the biggest botches in WrestleMania history was Papa Shango's late interference during the final pin in the main event between Hulk Hogan and Psycho Sid at Mania 8. This botch forced Sid to kick out of Hogan's signature leg drop, becoming the first wrestler in WWF to do so, as the match ended in an awkward disqualification.
Drop the leg, he did! It's all over! No! Oh, that's fair, that's real fair.
For many years, fans believed Papa Shango missed his cue, but this is not the case, as Shango got a late cue from those in the gorilla position, meaning it was whoever directed Shango that botched and missed their cue.
And I'm getting ready to run as soon as they tell me to. And I'm waiting. I'm not watching the monitors or nothing. I'm just waiting to go. So they go, oh shit, go. They gave me the cue late.
Look at this! Papa Shango! Where's he going?
They're not used to giving people cues. They're used to us being professionals and taking off on your own.
Yeah.
So he forgot for a minute.
And now if that would have happened later in my career, I wouldn't have needed a cue. I would have been watching it myself and knew when to win. But I wasn't watching. I was waiting for him to tell me to go.
Another missed or botched cue that ruined the finish of a match took place at In Your House Mind Games in 1997. Mankind and Shawn Michaels had just worked a near 5-star classic until Vader was booked to run down and interrupt the final pin, leading to a disqualification. Vader either got a late cue or was just too slow getting to the ring, because Michaels had to abandon the cover to start brawling with the Mastodon. However, Vader hadn't got a shot in yet before the bell rang for the DQ, so the finish didn't really make sense in the end. We've made it a point not to include finishes that were related to wrestlers getting injured, but our final entry is a match where the ref ended things because he mistakenly thought one of the competitors was hurt. It happened when Mickie James battled Asuka on the September 14th Raw from 2020. Asuka was booked to win with the Asuka lock, but the ref called for the bell after she was rolled into a pin despite Mickie never having submitted.
Mickie able to somehow roll through, and I believe Mickie tapped out. What?
The announcers were left confused, and had there been fans in the arena, they certainly would have booed the decision. Apparently the referee thought Mickie was hurt, so he ended the match. Turns out she was just selling really well. It's possible the official was being extra careful after a big injury occurred in the previous week when Ivar hurt his neck. The referee in that match quickly ended things, so it's possible the ref in Mickie's match saw fit to do the same as a precaution.
What happened? Let's see what the official's ruling is. What's he saying?
And so he made his decision based on what he thought was a reality, and that I was hurt and that I couldn't continue. For me, I go like, I felt like I could continue. It's an unfortunate loss.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 10 hidden WWE secrets fans were never supposed to notice. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.